It's a little odd that it has taken me this long to actually make it here. Here, of course, is Winter Haven, Florida. What I've seen so far, an absolutely amazing slice of both turn of the century and mid-century modern architecture, culture, well, old school Florida, really. Long before I even moved to Florida, I've been hearing about Winter Haven, Florida. Winter Haven was probably, I'd say it's safe to say, ground zero for tourism Florida well before Orlando and Tampa ever really kicked in. Thanks to its beautiful weather, its chain of lakes that connect to each other, and it's like 20 of them, and they kind of keep the area just slightly cooler than the surrounding area. It became a perfect location for, well, Cypress Gardens, among many other things. Bach Tower is around here. There's a lot of things. Join us today, if you haven't done so already, as we do just a little exploring. To say that I'm a big fan of these small towns is an understatement. This one, I would say, is a larger end of the small towns that we've been to. Winter Haven is, I'd say about an hour southwest of Orlando, about the same southeast of Tampa, Florida. The closest urban area would be Lakeland, Florida, which is a smaller big city, but still I would consider to be a fairly metropolitan region. While Winter Haven itself is not a big city, it's certainly a lot bigger than a lot of small towns that we've explored. Case in point, look at this area right here. They've got a Ritz Theater. Look at that marquee, absolutely stunning architecture. You don't see things like that in most small towns. You absolutely should see things like that in small towns, but a lot of them have not held on to their theaters, and a lot of them never had the theaters to begin with. Winter Haven continues to be a fairly happening little city. Now, it went through a drought like a lot of cities in Florida did, especially when Orlando kind of sucked up all the tourism. Not all the tourism, a lot of the tourism. Cypress Gardens was probably the first real theme park, if you will, in Florida. They were a theme park in theory only. They didn't have rides, per se. They didn't have characters walking around that you would think of, like cartoon characters. They had a lot of ski shows. They had a lot of very impressive landscaping. They had some cool little pieces of architecture, and they had people walking around dressed like Southern belles from the antebellum period. But, Orlando pops up back in the 70s and kind of sucks all the air out of the room. Looks like they got a nice little downtown market going today on Saturday. We'll stop over there in a moment and see what they've got going. So Cypress Garden continues on for another 30 years or so, even though Disney has sort of sucked most of the crowd away. Now, I remember coming as a child in the 80s and even really into the 90s and seeing a lot of signs for Cypress Gardens, advertising to come on out and see it. They've got people talking about how Elvis had been there and they filmed all these movies there and it's beautiful and it's historical. But we never went because it was just too far away from Orlando for us to stop in if we didn't have a rental car especially. So that's kind of what happened with a lot of people. Now since then, Legoland has bought it. Legoland has demolished a lot of it and rebuilt Lego-esque things on top of it, but they kept a small piece of Cypress Gardens, and they still have some of the water skiing. They still have some of the plants, some of the fountains. They've built Lego versions of the antebellum women that had previously walked around. It's not the same. It's admirable, but it's not the same. Could hear somebody singing in the background, probably selling their CD or something over there at the market. So like so many of these other small towns, they're going through a little bit of a renaissance right now where they've really rebuilt the downtown, and it's more about the culture and the history than it is about the quote-unquote attractions that used to bring people here. And I can tell you from driving on the way in here, they've got not only some amazing architecture left over from the early part of the 20th century, but it also looks like they have a lot of amazing mid-century modern pieces left over from when they were really hopping in the 50s and the 60s. This is the first time I've seen no cars coming through here. It's been pretty busy so far. It's about 1 o'clock on a Saturday, mid-May. As you can see, there's some cars coming now. So I've come into this one flying fairly blind. Now the name of the channel is Explorin', which is really about me exploring it for the first time. I know a little bit about the area, but a lot of this is new, and the idea is that you'll see real reactions. So let's learn what this is all about, shall we? They have a treasured olive. I've seen a few of these before. This is olive oils and vinegars and things like that, gourmet foods. Sometimes you can get some other things in there. I think I see like a Bloody Mary mix in the window. Blast Off Bloody Mary mix. It's a $17 Bloody Mary mix, so apparently it cures halitosis, which is Latin for not popular with the ladies. Okay, this was a surprise. The First Publix store, 1930, was located right here. I did not expect to find this over here. I thought Publix was founded in Lakeland because that's where they're located now, but apparently it was actually here. How about that? If you live in the South, you know Publix, and you probably would like to eat one of their subs right now, which you should do in celebration of Winter Haven, Florida. Looks like we can get wine and chocolate here at the Gourmet Goodies Bake Shop. Right here. They got cakes in the window. Not real cakes, but any cake is a good cake. Look at this. They welcome your dog. That's always the sign of a really good downtown area when they leave water and such out front for the dogs. That means they really kind of get it. Definitely embracing their Florida roots. Right across the street is the library. It looks like they've got a little cafe there, used bookstore inside. Might have to check that out. I love used bookstores. And then, of course, heading down the alleys, I could hear more people singing. So apparently they've got some live music and some sidewalk dining. But before we do that, we're going to check out the market because these things tend to close up really abruptly, and I don't want to miss it. You can already see a few interesting things, like right over here. There are bees.
Bees! Wonderful bees! It's okay.
This is where you go to get your bees then, right? This is where you get your bees. If someone wants bees while they're at the market, they get the bees here, right?
Bees! Bees! Bees in the car! Bees everywhere!
Not necessary. Well, where do they get them?
Several for the bees. I'm not selling them. We're always trying to increase our count.
But you sell honey.
Oh, where the queen is.
Sell them.
There's a queen right here.
There is a queen here. Where's 40,000 bees right here? And there is one single bee. One single queen, though, right? One single. I understand that if you put two queens in there, yeah, they don't like that. Oh, so they have an anti-queen policy. This is amazing. So can I assume then that you guys have like the freshest honey because you have the bees?
Killer bees! Killer bees!
Absolutely. And it's what is it? It's Pat's
Apiaries.
Pat's Apiaries is where you want to go to get your fresh honey here in Florida. Up there is a queen. She is camera shy, but apparently she's coming around the side here.
She's right on the top there somewhere.
We we are going to purchase 1 bottle of honey while we are here.
I do have a card with my Facebook page on it and my email that you can order, and I do ship.
Oh, fantastic.
It's $8 a bag, has 6 different flavors, and it's 3 for $20 if you buy 3.
3 for $20. Now take a look. We have espresso brittle, which I am told actually contains real espresso. So it's not that flavored stuff, it's the real stuff.
And it's light. It's not like your traditional brittle.
It's not. Wow. Oh, it's good. Now, unfortunately, no website yet, but so if you are interested in trying some of that, right here is where you're going to want to go. There will be a Facebook page as well. This is an interesting food truck. It looks like it is an ex-school bus. Ella Ray Pottery of Winter Park. Winter Park is closer to my neck of the woods. Some very cool looking things over there. Looks like they have a Remax balloon over there. Apparently while we're here we could purchase a house.
I bet the board is spelled B-O-R-E-D.
Up there, Tallow Skincare. Sea moss. I'm not in the market for sea moss at the moment, but here's some paintings you can purchase. Some knitted items. Beads. Floor coverings. You can get yourself a new flooring while you were here, purchasing your brittle. Always a fan of public art. You can see that right here. Inspired by the example of Nat West, a beloved community volunteer whose actions remind us to do whatever we can, whenever we can, wherever we can. In this case, what we are doing apparently is reading on a stoop. Looks like these folks are selling board games, which is unusual.
I bet the board is spelled B-O-R-E-D.
Which is unusual for a market, but kind of cool in and of itself. Having completed my journey through the market, it's time to check out the used bookstore inside of the library, which kind of unusual to see a used bookstore being advertised inside of a public library, but I'm excited about that. Actually, a very pretty library. Friends of the Library Memorial, Helen Butts Memorial Bookstore. Let's check that out. Getting ready to leave the library, and I saw this. Speaking of Legos, as we were earlier. Pretty cool, especially for a public library to have all this stuff, including the coffee shop over here. That is a little unusual. I was able to purchase a hardback version of The Watchmen. I definitely see something over there I have to check out. And it's certainly not this private alley. No, from the look of the art, it is a much more public alley. Check this out. It is people, crawling people up there, walking people down here. Looks like a guy with a head growing out of his head. And they are becoming what I believe looks like a tree branch, but I think it may actually be some of the waterways, potentially the waterways of Winter Haven, Florida. Well, it could be. But again, what is up with this guy?
Don't look right at it.
Perhaps a warning not to drink the water of the waterways of Winter Haven, I suppose. Oh, that is very cool. They have the Laugh Out Loud Lounge Comedy Club. They have their own comedy club here in Winter Haven. Johnny B. Filthy 4. I have no idea who that is. Mike Lee and friends. There's a toilet there. There's that guy. And those guys? It's a laugh a minute that will have you asking, who are these guys? As we walk around, I'm looking at the Central Tavern right here, established in 2015. But I love the tables that they have. Really embrace the history of the area. Check this out. Very cool tables. Actually, let's get you one that isn't upside down. Looks like these pictures may have been taken in the 70s from the look of things. Maybe before that. I only say the 70s because those look like bell bottoms. And that is here next to the Ritz Theater. Beautiful awning. Love these old neon awnings. Also another Remax balloon. So Remax is very popular in Winter Haven, obviously, for some reason. Taking a look at the walls, the outside walls of the Central Tavern, this is definitely not the 70s. This looks like this may have been more like the late 30s, early 40s, I want to say, just judging by the cars that they have there. But you can see the Ritz Theater and some of the other signs that are hanging out over the road. Obviously, the Ritz Theater is the only one of these businesses that kind of looks the same now. So if you take a look at that and then I turn, you can get an idea as to where it's gone since then. You can see this building here with the arched peak on it. That is actually still over there. It's now the arcade on Central. They've got Sauvage Wild Eats, the Lucky Kitty Dim Sum, and Sunkist Studios over there. But you know what is not in this? Remax. Also, in the windows, we have a not so great representation of the Blues Brothers, but close enough that you at least know who it is.
No, ma'am. We're musicians.
Delectable Delights, ice cream, candy, and toys. And if I go in there, my kids are going to be mad. But take a look down here. This is cool looking. Look at this. Union Tap Room right here. You can go in there and get your beer on. And then you can go over here and get your ice cream. This actually reminds me a little bit of one of the alleyways in Claremont. If I go any further, I'm going to have to buy ice cream. And I should not do that. I do like this, however. Beer as cold as your ex's heart. That's the tap room, by the way, not the ice cream place. But the ice cream is as cold as your ex's heart as well. And also Remax. Here's the world-famous Winter Haven burnt-out lot.
It's beautiful.
El Olivo Mexican restaurant. Now, the reason I wanted to film that is look at the front of this building. This is cool. Very well themed. Make this test. Drink Budweiser for 5 days. On the 6th day, try to drink a sweet beer. You will want Budweiser's flavor thereafter. Because nothing says Mexican restaurant like Budweiser.
Por favor, cervezas Alamo.
I'm confused. Oh my, look at that. So I'm looking at this mural across the street. First of all, beautiful mural. Very Christian, obviously. You could tell Jesus, Mary, I believe John the Baptist. I believe on the far left we have Mother Teresa. I'm not entirely sure who everyone else is. I can take a guess at a few of them, but if I'm wrong, well, let's just say I don't want to be wrong. I am a little confused as to who the gentleman on the right is. Looks like a young man with a button, JHS, and a backpack. I'm assuming he would be a local. If you know the story, though, by all means, please let me know down in the comments below. I would be very interested in finding out who that is, to be placed in such a position of esteem. Home Remedies of Winter Haven. That sounds interesting. And it also sounds gone. Mainly gone. The Sugar Slice, We Bake Memories. Looks like they have another cake bakery right here. Does not appear to be open right now. They close at 12 o'clock on Saturdays. Also, welcome to Winter Haven 2.0, Century 21 Fine Homes and Estates. These folks are obviously gonna tussle, gonna throw down with Remax. I don't think it'll go well. Remax has 2 balloons. I see a little bit of a theme developing here. Look at these cameras though. That is awesome. Wanted to take a second to show the architecture here. This is that peaked building that we looked at in the window of the Tavern on Central that has arcade with Sauvage, Wild Eats, Lucky Kitty, Dim Sum, and Sunkissed Studios. Beautiful architecture though, look at that. The Lucky Kitty does seem to have a little bit of a sense of humor too, and they've got some great arcade games. Miss Pac-Man, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat 2. I mean, these are really, you throw the Simpsons arcade game in there and you have a damn fine collection. Here's the arcade that we mentioned. Look at this brass or steel or iron I think it is, entryway. Very cool looking in here. We're actually going to stop in for just a second. They've got a wine bar, it looks like. Although you could also buy tiki mugs, so, right off the bat they have my esteem. Sauvage. Smells good. It smells like bacon in here. I don't think that has anything to do with the leopard. I feel like people would eat a lot more leopard if it smelled like bacon. And then there's this. I think I'm actually going to start heading back to the car because besides the downtown things, there were some pretty cool looking things I saw on the way in. I'd kind of like to check out a little further. There were some mid-century modern and some historical looking pieces that certainly caught my eye. And I've only got so much time today. I have plans this evening with some mutual friends. So I have to use my time wisely. And honestly, I hate doing anything wisely. So for the moment, I'm going to say goodbye to downtown Winter Haven and start heading to almost downtown Winter Haven, home of mid-century modern and less Remax. I have no idea. There's probably a whole bunch of Remax balloons there too. It sort of seems to be the thing to do in Winter Haven. Before we head out of downtown completely, this is the store that had the wall, the mural, with all the religious figures on it. It is a thrift store. Looks like it's a religious thrift store, but this looks like it is also the site of the First Publix supermarket in the way that most of us think of public supermarkets. Very Art Deco, pastel, things like that. That is formerly in this larger building right here. Came out in 1940. I want to get you a wider angle of it, and you can definitely see where a Publix would fit into this building a lot better than the first one we saw, which was downtown in the smaller storefront. That was in the 1930s. This is the 1940. This is the second location of Publix, and certainly the first of the Publix that fits a more modern interpretation of Publix. So just wanted to point that out. That's on the same building that we saw the religious mural a few minutes ago. Kind of cool. And now we will continue our departure from downtown Winter Haven. Before I go much further, I am going to stop and get a little lunch from this place right here, Lovebirds. I've been to a Lovebirds before. It's a small chain here in Florida. I went to the one in Lakeland, and it is fantastic. If you like hot chicken, this is the way to do it. And I'm not just telling you that because the sign told me to. I mean, could they serve anything else here? I mean, just look at the decor in here. Could it be anything other than amazing? We're returning to my car to eat my lunch. This is the Bama. There is hot chicken. There is Alabama white sauce. There's bacon. There's usually pimento cheese. I said not to put it on here. People ask why I eat in my car as opposed to actually eating in the restaurants. Unfortunately, most restaurants blare copyrighted music, which means that even if I were to stay and film it, you wouldn't see it anyways. So I just go back to my car, and usually I drive while eating, which is the healthiest way to eat. It's been proven. Years and years of I'm gonna feel terrible later. Take a look at that old McDonald's sign over there. Now, the McDonald's itself is not that old, and for all I know, the sign might be a recreation, but still worth pointing out. Some very cool looking things off to the side. Look at the Meals on Wheels over here on your right. Also, here's one of their many lakes. They have, I believe it's something like 21 lakes that are interconnected by canals. So you could theoretically start in any one of these lakes and make your way sooner or later to any of the other lakes. So when I was talking about some of the mid-century buildings, look at the architecture on this Marco's Pizza. Also, look across the street at that Budget Inn. It's been redone, but very tiki and mid-century in its architecture as well. You can see the remains of the A-frame style on the lobby building. Love that kind of thing. Don't see a whole lot of it anymore here in Florida. Speaking of which, you have another one of those motels up here that I saw on the way by. This time the Camellia Motel. Again, very mid-century. Looks like people might be living in that one. These mid-century motels really do seem to be coming back. I see a lot of people purchasing them and then redoing them. I think we're going to make one more stop on the way out of town here. This is at the Lakeside Memorial Park. It's a historic cemetery here in the beautiful land of Winter Haven. Look at the tree here. That is gorgeous. This is certainly not one of the larger cemeteries that we have visited, and it's not one of the older ones either. I mean, it's got some years on it, but it's not like the ones that are from the 1700s that we visited before. But it is integral to the history of Winter Haven, Florida. As you can see, there's some work being done over here, and if you've watched these videos before, you know my rule. I try not to focus on the names of any tombstones of someone who may still have living relatives. But I did kind of want to show you some of these things over here. These are a little bit newer right here, these tombs. Gorgeous marble work, though. This one has some folks that were born in the 1800s that passed away more into the middle of the 20th century. I will point out this one real quick, and this kind of something I don't usually do, but the Gators logo right there on Marshall is very cool. This is still very much an active cemetery, so you can see they've recently had funerals here. And there's actually still a couple of graves that are semi-open, still being filled in, like right over there. But there's a particular grave that I was looking for, and I'm afraid I'm probably not going to be able to find it because it is not well marked on the internet. And that is the grave of Betty Skelton. Betty Skelton was known as the fastest woman on earth. She was a race car driver. She was a stunt pilot. She was amazing. She held so many speed records, both in the air and on the ground. She was from this area. She moved up to Winter Park for a while. She passed away, and then she was buried here, I don't know, maybe about a decade ago, give or take. I was really hoping to come out and pay my respects, but I'm not seeing this specific grave, and unfortunately most of them are the flat stones here, so they're pretty hard to make out unless you just walk up and down the rows, which unfortunately today I just don't have time to do. So what I can say is that I will definitely try to come back out here when I have more time. I definitely want to find this particular memorial. But for the time being, from Winter Haven, Florida, I hope you will join us again next time as we do just a little more exploring.